Well, you definitely know this better than myself now. I'm a fan of pure football. I'm a fan of street football. I'm a fan of Argentinian philosophy about football. I'm a fan of football with a U. I'm a fan of technique, posture, composure. That's what I like about football and what I see in football players. And Claudio Echeverri sums up everything that I just said and would bring everything that I just said inside the walls of the Stadio Olimpico, next to Matti Sule, next to Paulo Dybala. We would add Argentinian layers to our team. And I would love this signing because it would be a generational signing. Because I think he's, 17 years old right now. He's 2006. I think in 5 years' time, El Diablito Echeverri can be one of the best players in the world if you just look at his technique. But I've got a lot of doubts regarding this deal because of the complexity of this deal. The update is very simple. Di Marzio launched the rumors last week, and then people were skeptical about them, including Fabrizio Romano, who basically said that Roma were interested, but Man City don't want to include an obligation to buy because they spent a lot of money on him, and they would rather loan him out to Girona, who are part of the City group. While on the other hand, Echeverri wants this Roma move because he wants to play in Europe, in European tournaments. I mean, he would find Sule, Dybala, his Argentinian friends, which, for an Argentinian player who has suffered this jump from Argentina to England in terms of cultural swap, in terms of the fact that Argentinian players suffer, this is like a reality check. Argentinian players, Brazilian players, South American players, it's all about vida, they suffer working and playing in a football club, which has got no Argentinian players other than you. So in Rome, not only he would find Sule, Dybala, but the passion, which is similar to Argentina, the fact that he can play in the Europa League, the fact that he can, be managed by a manager, which grows players in terms of into beasts. Echeverri wants this move. Man City are skeptical about this, but the update today, coming from Sky Sports, very reliable source, is that Man City are potentially opening up to negotiating. Maybe because Echeverri is pulling, maybe because he's pushing for this move. Apparently they're opening up. And apparently an emissary is flown to England, to London, to try and unlock this deal and bring Echeverri to Rome. I think it's very clear that our next transfer objective is him. I think it's very, very clear. Multiple reliable sources have confirmed this. Gasperini wants Echeverri, Massara wants to bring him, and Echeverri wants Roma. So we're trying to make this work out. Now, speaking about the player, pure. Street football. An Argentinian player who came from nowhere, had nothing, played football on the streets, made his way onto River Plate, played in the River Plate Academy, the Argentinian Canteras, made his way onto the first team of River Plate at a very young age, dominated that team. Man City come around, they spend £20 million on a 17-year-old who never stepped foot in Europe before. Very big investment, which shows to you the importance of this player. He suffered this jump because he's not ready, because at Man City you don't have much space, which is one of the reasons why he wants to be loaned out and why I think Man City want to loan him out. Because, Man City have got Doku, Cherki, Foden, Gundogan, Bernardo Silva. He wouldn't play. So he needs time, he needs a new experience to build momentum, to build European momentum in his legs. In terms of who he is and how he plays, I'm surprised that we're interested in him. I'm surprised that Gasperini has identified in him the player that we need in that Lookman type position, because I think Roma need a rapid, a speed merchant, a dribble one-on-one winger, fast winger. And as much as Echeverri moves in many different positions and is extremely technical, is to say least, is great in dribbling, is so composed, is great when it comes to setting his body towards the play and towards the action, moving around the ball, step and go, stop and go, touch and go. Argentina in a player. I see Argentina in a player. He is Argentina as a country. Just imagine him next to Dybala and Sule. Imagine the chemistry, okay? So I would love this. I would be the number one fan of this. But I'm surprised because I think, and I would have thought that Gasperini would have asked for more of type of a Nusa Chiesa type player, more of a natural winger rather than a, number 10, which can also widen out and play as a winger. Because Echeverri is a number 10. Echeverri is a number 10, which switches into a number 11. Ideally, he plays where Dybala plays, but in the opposite direction because he's right-footed. Dybala's left-footed. Very similar player to Dybala in terms of characteristics as well. Of course, very young. Let's not compare the two. But you get the point. I would have thought that Gasperini would have asked for a more direct player, okay? Rather than a dribble, turn around, composed, if you see my point. I would love this. I would absolutely love this because I'm a massive fan of these investments, which is something that I'm loving under Gasperini in this transfer session. I think this transfer session isn't perfect and it can be better, but in terms of the age, we've massively reduced the average age in our squad. I'm liking this. It's the Gasperinian mentality. But I've got doubts. I've got doubts not on the player. I do. Not on what the player offers, not on how technical the player is. No, because that is, in order to describe Echeverri's technique, I could write a book. You could look at the stars. You can lie down at the beach, sky full of stars, and you see Echeverri play football. I don't doubt, I don't question his qualities. My only doubt on the player is, can he, at such a young age, 2006, I repeat, come to Rome and be dominant? Because that is what we need in that section of the field. Dominance. Dominance in contributions, goals and assists, dribbling, speed, dribbles. Can he come in at such a young age and change the team? And, get us the points. Win us the games. Transfuse with Sule and Dybala and form an Argentinian barrier. Can he do that immediately? I'm not sure. That's my only doubt on him as a player. My doubts on this are on how we set up this deal, because I'm totally, and I mean totally against a dry loan, because we've made the dry loan mistake so many times with Huijsen, and look where he is now. We made the dry loan mistake with Salamakers, and now he's back at Milan. I don't want a dry loan because, number one, it doesn't give me a projectile direction, a projectile future. And number two, I don't want to value players that at the end of the season don't stay with us or don't have a chance at staying with us. I'm just doing a favor to Man City. So I'm against the dry loan. Yes, absolutely. Even if it's just he helps us to win the Europa League and then he leaves. No, I'm against it. We need to try and insert an option, ideally an obligation, which of course is complicated to convince City, because I'm not imagining Roma to negotiate with a team which is probably the team which needs the least amount of money right now in its bank accounts, which is a giant, a financial giant compared to us. So I cannot see Roma negotiate head on head with Man City. The image that I see is Roma looking at Man City like this and trying to negotiate. They're too much more powerful than us. So if they open up to an obligation, absolutely. But if it's a dry loan, no. And I'm skeptical on how we can set this deal out, because there are going to be some crevices in this deal that we won't like. Because why would they let him go so easily? Yes, their squad depth is immense, but he's 17 years old, 18 years old. They spent 20 million pounds on him when he was 17 from Argentina. Why would they sell him and get rid of him all of a sudden? They wouldn't. So Pep wouldn't do that. So sit down and push for an obligation. Worst case scenario, you push for a loan with obligation with a counter obligation. So if they don't want him, we trigger the obligation, which will be a lot of money. I cannot imagine it being less than 30 million. And the other thing, if they do, worst case scenario, want him back, then they have to pay us a bit of money too, because we valued him for them, if you see what I mean. So it's kind of like, I'm going to loan him to you, but let me put an obligation. But Man City go, okay, but let me put a counter obligation as well. So that if they want him, they need to give us some money too, because we valued him, and because a dry loan would be absolutely stupid. We need to earn something from it, whether it's his technical performances as a player or financial means. Guys, that's it. I cannot imagine watching a football game with Sule, Dybala and Echeverri all on the pitch. That's a vision which still hasn't crossed my mind. Because as a fan of pure football, that's what I love. As a fan of Argentinian football, that's what I love, and that's what I would sign and pay to see. I've got doubts, but I've got positive doubts. That's my conclusion to this. Hit the like, subscribe, let me know in the comments what you would do with Claudio Echeverri. He clearly is our top target right now, so we're trying to unlock this deal. You know what? I'm gonna go 200 likes. I want you guys to hit the like, because we're building a team, we're building a project, and we're a community. Hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and if you watched this video, hype it up. YouTube have added this new feature which is like giving hype points so the video gets pushed out. If you liked it, give some hype points as well. Follow Roma Theory on TikTok and Instagram, and I'll catch you soon. Simo out.